Hello and welcome. My name is HR Payne, and I'm going to be your host for today's conversation. And this is a conversation I'm genuinely excited about because we're not just talking about weight metabolism from a surface level, eat less, move more perspective, but we're going to go a little bit deeper today. And my guest today is you've heard from him before, Dr. Alphonzo Monzo, biblical naturopath, author of Alatov Body System. He's a clinician, an educator, really just known for helping people understand why their body may be struggling, and more importantly, I think how to restore it intelligently and sustainably, not a quick fix. So today's topic is metabolic mastery, healthy weight through detox and support. And in this, I think you're going to find Dr. Monzo is going to break down the real root cause behind weight gain and supporting healthy weight management and metabolic challenges and things like hormone signaling, cellular energy production, inflammation, metabolic adaptation. These are things that are often overlooked in conventional conversations. So this is about understanding the body and its metabolism as a dynamic system, not something broken, but something that can be supported, recalibrated, and strengthened when you work with the body instead of against it. Dr. Monzo, thank you for being here, sir. I'm excited to walk through this with you once again. Metabolic mastery.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me again.
Say again?
Said thank you for having me again. And
yes, thanks for being here. Excited about this one. This is one that a lot of people struggle with. And I think that they truly battle at the surface level, right? And they're thinking, eat less, move more, eat less, move more type of thing. It's not always about that, is it?
No. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I think, I don't know when, sometime last year, we did one on fit and lean or something. And we kind of got more into the, you could say, the medical myths on weight. And, they have a lot of weird medical myths, like you're fat because you have a stomach. And, we're just going to minimize your stomach so you can't eat as much, or you have bad genes, or, This time we decided to go into another direction and more into the field of how important it is to get proper metabolism and detox to support weight loss. So we're going to explain all that. So I guess we might as well just jump right into the slides here.
All right.
There you go. Healthy weight through detox and support. This is all a metabolic process, quite honestly. So metabolic mastery.
Here's Dr. Monzo, before you get started here, we're going to hear the word metabolic quite a bit. What does the word, when you're mentioning metabolic, what are we talking about?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so one way to look at this is when people use the word metabolism, we're really talking about functions of the body, really on a cellular level, right? So we're not just talking about one specific organ or an organ system. We're talking about something that all the cells of the body do. And metabolism is a process of burning and producing energy. Okay. And there's a lot more of that.
Efficient.
Yeah. It's a whole process of chemical reactions in the body. Some of these chemical actions are for burning things up. Some of them are for producing energy. Some of them are for eliminating. So you have all these, and we just call these generically metabolic reactions. They're really chemical reactions happening on the cellular level. So whether that's building energy for the body, some of the process of metabolism is simply you're putting food in the body. Your body breaks that down to a chemical level. And then from there, produces energy for the body. And then the waste gets eliminated. So that is an entire metabolic process of what you do when you put food in and what do you get out of it. So I hope that answers the question in an easy way for people to understand, where we don't get too complicated in all the metabolic cycles. And so here's your base,
Good. Thank you.
right? We're going to talk about, of course, the root causes to weight and metabolism, lifestyle improvements, nutrition, and then, of course, what supplements might support weight and metabolism. Root cause. You've heard it before, but you're going to hear it again. The root causes to weight and metabolic challenges. Number one, nutritional deficiencies. We're going to talk more about that here just in a minute. I think we spent a lot of time on the fit and lean talking about that one specifically. Number two, toxins. Big deal. Because remember, the basic concept of that metabolism is we're putting stuff in so your body can convert it to energy and the fuel that the body needs. And then the body has to eliminate the junk that you were putting in back out. I mean, there's always going to be a waste product when you're eating food. You have to eliminate certain amounts of what is no longer needed. That is part of the detox process. If that's not happening, well, that stuff is building up somewhere. That's not a good thing. Inflammation is a killer. A lot of people don't think about inflammation on a cellular level, maybe. You think of inflammation, you're thinking what? Oh, my joints ache, or there's redness or swelling somewhere. Yeah, that's inflammation. But a lot of people don't think about inflammation could be occurring on the cell membrane of your cells in any of your organs. And if that's occurring, then the cell function and signaling is going to be impaired. Maybe things aren't getting into the cell. Maybe the cell isn't signaling right or communicating right or functioning right. And that comes down to a cellular level. We don't often think of that when we think of inflammation. We think of the big things, like I said, like the redness and the swelling and my joints hurt. But we don't think about what's happening on that cellular level. So something might not be working. A prime example is a thyroid, right? Thyroid is very important for a lot of metabolic functions in the body, especially for your daytime energy and burning and losing weight and being fit. But there's a lot of hormones that the thyroid works off of. And sometimes the thyroid, the cellular level of the thyroid, the cells of the thyroid are inflamed on the cell membrane, the outside layer of the cell. And that inhibits the hormones from even being able to get into the proper cells of the thyroid for the thyroid to function. A lot of times we don't think about that. And there's no test really to measure that medically. If you do a blood test, it's not going to tell you that. So that's something that, you need training on to know how to read and come to the conclusion of, we think the thyroid is not working because there's inflammation affecting the cell membrane and it's just not signaling correctly. You have gut health and bad diet. Obviously, if you're putting the wrong stuff in the body, you're going to have a lot of problems. We're going to talk a little bit more about that here in a second. Blood sugar, stress, mental, emotional, poor sleep, and of course, we have on here the wrong exercise, because not all exercise is good exercise. There's a word we use often that's probably the wrong wording, and that is, I'm going to go work out. Well, I don't know if you want to work out, you work yourself out, but that could be further causing further problems. And I don't think I'm going to get into it a lot on this one. It was more on the fit and lean where we really got into the idea of what happens if you exercise wrong and you don't have the proper nutrients. So if you want to know more about that, you might want to go back and watch that episode. Today, we're going to look more at this process of detoxing and gut and inflammation and stuff like that. So simple truths about weight gain. The wrong foods and overeating. So this is kind of a summary of what we covered the last time, and we're going to build onto that. So the empty harvest concept, okay? Nutritional deficiencies built into this. You get hunger signals really from two major things. Your body is giving you a signal that it needs the 90 essential nutrients, some nutrient. your body needs the building blocks. Or you could be getting a signal that your body needs water. Sometimes hunger is nothing more than you're starting to get close to being dehydrated and you need to drink. So the problem comes in is if you have a bunch of, nutritional deficiencies, and then you're eating the wrong foods, you're eating foods that don't have any proper nutrition to them because they're not even real food, you don't actually get full. You keep eating and you keep eating, and your body keeps sending you the signal that you're hungry because the body is looking for the building blocks, not how much food you put in, not the calories, but did you give me the vitamins, the minerals, the amino acids? Did I get the proper proteins and carbohydrates and all that? Not so much what the food is or how much it was. And since most people are eating food that's not nutritionally dense, you keep getting this signal. So you keep going back and you eating. Now that's going to cause a problem because if you keep putting stuff in, you could gain weight. The other thing is the body thinks you're starving because it doesn't have the building blocks. So the body will start to hold on to stuff thinking that it's starving. So that's kind of the last episode we did. I don't know how long ago that was, the Fit and Lean. Now, adding to that, you have toxins. Okay. The body is going to try its best to eliminate stuff from the body. And when it can't, and it's getting overburdened, it will kind of smart. The body will start storing it. And a lot of times the body will store toxins in fatty tissue. That even means sometimes the body will make up fat deposits to store these toxins because the toxins are causing too much damage to the tissues, and the body needs a place to stick it until the body is given the support it needs to eliminate it. So these toxins build up, and then your body starts storing and creating more fat to place these toxins somewhere. And that is a bad situation. Gut health. If the gut's not healthy and the microbiome's not healthy, then you're going to have a lot of issues. A big one, you're not even going to absorb your nutrients. So even if you were eating healthy, if the gut permeability and what's the word I'm looking for? Assimilation is bad because the microbiome is all messed up. You're not even absorbing your nutrients. So now you're eating the right food, but you're getting nothing out of it. And that might slow down how well food is traveling through the gut. So peristalsis, which is the movement of the food, and then its breakdown, and eventually it gets into the feces, which the body has to move out of the body. If that's really slow, then you're going to be holding on to stuff in the gut for a lot longer than you want. And that's where, if it's in there too long, especially in the large intestine, stuff can start being reabsorbed back to the lining of the gut and then back into the bloodstream and then recirculated. That's a very bad thing. You don't want that. So there's a lot of issues when the gut's not working, not getting your nutrients, not eliminating correctly. And then that has so many functions on metabolism and your immune functions from the gut, and how you're thinking, how you're feeling. If you're backed up, you just don't feel good, right? You're probably feeling more sluggish. You don't want to do things. So it starts affecting every level of the body. And that all stems from the gut. That's going to create inflammation to start rising too. So that gets into number 5. Now we're going to have inflammation rising. The toxins are going to be rising. You're not getting your nutrients. And so we can have an increase in cortisol, which generates fat. You can have all kinds of things occurring because the inflammation could be even reaching to a cellular level. And when it's reaching to the cellular level, that's when you're going to really have a lot of the metabolic issues. And then too much of the wrong exercise, especially if you have nutritional deficiencies. If you're doing the wrong types of exercises, you could just be burning through your nutrients and your muscle. And do I cover that real briefly here? Okay, yeah, I do. Just real quick. This is kind of an overview. So nutritional deficiencies means overeating, eating the wrong foods, no nutrition, you're still hungry. So you eat more bad foods, more calories, more inflammation, but now that your cortisol levels are going to go up, and that's going to create the body to stimulate the body to make more fat, and you still have no nutrition. And so what happens when you work out is your body really needs protein. So you should eat a good amount of protein before you're going to work out, because your body's going to need that to burn. If your body doesn't have the protein to burn when you go to do a workout, the fastest thing for the body to use for energy is actually to burn muscle. It can burn muscle way faster than other forms when you don't have the nutrients and the proteins that the body needs to do the exercise. So you're nutritionally deficient, you don't have the proper protein, you do this major workout, cardiovascular, and what is your body burning? It's burning through its muscle. And now you're not burning fat, because fat takes a lot more energy to burn through. Now, if you have the proper nutrients and protein before you do a workout, then you can get your body into fat burning. But when that's not there, it's much faster to liquefy your muscle and turn that into energy than your the fat. So now you're actually going to be wasting away your muscle, and the fat's not going anywhere. It's not moving. So that's why you want to do the right type of workouts at the right time. And if you're really, really nutritional deficient, you should probably be very careful, because it's much better to get the nutrients back in the body and get nutrified before you start really going into these major workout plans. We're just stop right there for a second to see if HR has anything he wants to add or comment on, or
please go ahead and continue with this last slide on root cause and our recap.
Okay. Yeah. And then we'll move on to the next topic.
There we go. Yeah.
There you go. Nutritional deficiencies, overeating, wrong food, still hungry. Then you add in the toxins. Uh-oh. The body needs to eliminate the toxins from the body. If the body cannot eliminate the toxins, it's very smart. The body's always trying to save itself every second of the day. So it has its list of priorities. You know, what's a major priority? Well, the brain has to keep functioning. The heart has to keep pumping. So the pH in your blood is going to have to be just perfect. So your body is going to sacrifice from other areas of the body when there are other issues going on to keep the critical functions of the body functioning. So eliminating toxins, well, it's important, but it's not critical. It's not the same as your heart beating. So guess what? The body's going to say, well, we don't have the support to eliminate this right now. Let's stick it somewhere until we have the support. And it could throw it into fat tissue. It can throw it into little cysts and tumors. I think this is a different way of thinking for a lot of people, to think about a cyst or a tumor is kind of like a little trash can in your body, where your body's sticking stuff that it can't handle. It's like, well, go stick it over there in the corner until we have a place. But the body's smart, right? So it just doesn't throw it into the bloodstream or something. It actually makes a container to stick that stuff until it has the support to eliminate it. But if you don't ever give it the support, these tumors, these cysts, these fatty deposits, they just continue to build up throughout life until eventually, you know, the straw that breaks the camel's back. And then the next thing you know, you have a major situation because this stuff has slowly been building up for years. You just didn't notice it or see it, but it's in the background.
You know, it's phenomenal that you identify with these essentials first. Oftentimes we reference them as the 90 essentials, and in one of them, you know, from the cellular level all the way to protein, and you think about working out, and if these nutrients aren't in place, and your body is going to reach for that protein, and that protein isn't there, it's actually compromising liver. And phase 2 of liver detoxification specifically. And when that becomes compromised, now you're having problems with detoxification again, and cleansing and releasing a lot of these metabolic toxins that are accruing in the body. I think once we understand that weight and metabolic challenges aren't about willpower, it's not about just getting out there and losing weight and moving more, but a deeper signal that the body is adapting to stress, like you said, inflammation at a cellular level, hormonal balance, these energy inefficiencies. The question becomes then, how do our lifestyle choices come into play, right? How do things like sleep and stress and these daily rhythms, can you go into that now more, and supporting the balance or of that in our lifestyle?
Sure. So that's going to get into the next one, lifestyle. And I want to just add one more thing there, is that's, when you get into the anatomy, physiology, or biology books, one of the basic definitions of metabolism is going to include anabolism and catabolism. And those are two fancy words for building up and breaking down. So, the average person doesn't think about this. You just wouldn't unless you're in the health field. But your body is always breaking down every cell and tissue in your body and then building up new ones. We don't think about that. I don't know, maybe because of a lot of the allopathic mindset out there has taught us the body doesn't heal on its own. We know that's not true. You cut yourself, you heal. And then they kind of want to tell you, well, that's just your skin, but nothing else does that. But that's not true. The reality is, I think the best estimates I've seen, and I don't know if it's 100% true, that we've been able to measure this, is the body is basically, we have a new body every 7 years. So in a 7-year time span, every single tissue, cell, and organ in your body has been broken down and rebuilt. So if we were getting healthy materials, building blocks, every 7 years, we wouldn't really age much. But if you don't, this is how people age faster. And you see some people that seem like they age really badly. Well, if you had tons of stress over that 7-year period and tons of nutritional stress, your body's not going to build up as well. And the reason I bring this up is, again, when we're thinking about overworking, this idea of working out, especially if it's muscle related. A lot of people want to go to the gym and pump some iron and get bigger. That's more of the guys. Well, I don't know. Some women want to do that stuff too. Well, you have to think about it. So anytime you're exercising, you're going to be tearing down muscle tissue and then building the muscle back up. That's basically what happens with bodybuilders and other people who are building more muscle. You're actually tearing down and building back up. Well, what happens if you don't have the 90 essential nutrients? You don't have the building blocks to build back up. So you're tearing things down and causing more metabolic misery in the body, but you don't actually have the resources to build things back up. So the body will build inferior cells, or the body will try to hang on to certain cells way longer than it's supposed to because it doesn't have the proper building blocks to build new ones.
That's good.
So lifestyle. Well, the first thing, of course, is you need those 90 essential whole food nutrients, right? We need those. That's the building blocks of the body. If you don't have those, nothing else is going to work. Without those nutrients, none of the metabolic reactions are going to work. You're not going to be able to detox. You're just not going to have the energy to do anything. So you're going to need those nutrients for all the different systems. And you could, if you want to look at it as little factories everywhere in the body, like all these different things that are inside the cell doing all the different functions. Well, the different parts have different nutritional requirements to do what they do. So if you have deficiencies, there's going to be certain parts of the cells or certain part of the organs that aren't going to be able to function the way they're supposed to. So it's not just take your nutrients. This goes really deep to how do the basic functions of the cells work? And they need the basic building blocks and energy source, which is the nutrients. Getting proper sleep, so important. Everyone should be getting really 8 hours of sleep every night. And it's definitely better if you can get a good amount of sleep before 12 o'clock, midnight. The more sleep you can get before that, the better. But everyone's having problems with this now because we have TVs, computers, cell phones, all this blue screen. So people are up later. We have artificial light, so we're up later. We're not going to bed when the sun goes down. And then we get busy doing something. And then you have that blue light stimulation, which might be messing up with your serotonin and melatonin. So now instead of your body going into producing more melatonin for sleep, for a nice, good, deep, relaxed, peaceful sleep, instead you're producing just a little bit. And now you're having a harder time going to sleep. And that's all the circadian rhythm and how the different types of light stimulate the body. We have mental emotional stress. Sometimes people just can't turn off the mind. And so what we have to understand about sleep is just like any electrical device, you need to plug it in to recharge or the device isn't going to work. Our body is very much the same way. Not that we're machines, but that our body needs a time to recharge and to repair. And a lot of the recharge and repair is during the sleep cycle. That's when the body does some of its deepest repairing and re-energizing. And some people say some of the deepest detoxes are actually occurring when you're sleeping. So if you're not getting your sleep, you're not giving a time for the body to rejuvenate, to repair itself.
How much sleep? What's a sleep is sacred in our household. Um, how much sleep? What is the right amount of sleep?
I think it should be a minimum of 8 hours a night.
Yeah.
But I say 8 to 12. Some people need more. Now, for some reason, when people get older, sometimes they seem like they don't need as much sleep. I'm not so sure that's necessarily always true. I've met a lot of people over a lifetime who think that they don't need much sleep to function, and then they crash. So if your functioning is not necessarily a sign that you're getting enough sleep, right? So just because you think you can get by with 4 hours or 5 hours, like, maybe 3 hours, like when you were in college, that comes with a price. Eventually your body is going to crash and it's going to be very hard to recover. So
And
I wouldn't go by that measurement.
And when you sleep is important as well, right?
Yeah, when you sleep is also important. Yeah. We see sometimes some of the most unhealthy people and people who do crash over time are those who work night shift.
Yeah.
Right? We think it doesn't really matter, but when you really think about it, the only reason we do those things is because modern convenience. If we went back a couple thousand years ago, before you had electricity, when the sun went down, there was nothing more to do.
That's right.
You might have candles and fires, the light things, but once the sun went down, you were done. You went to bed. And we have to understand that we're hardwired. The creator hardwired us for this specific reason to function off of the lights in nature. And that sunlight, when it comes up, stimulates your serotonin. And that's your daytime. And then when the sun starts going down in the evening, that you're going to get a lot of red light there with the sunset, and then it's going to turn into darkness. That's what stimulates your melatonin so you can sleep well at night. And it's very hard to mimic that during the daytime. And that's why also it's important, your environment, right? That some people are light sleepers, some people are heavier sleepers. So some people, it doesn't matter what's going on in the background as far as music. Some people, they can't have any sound. So you might need to do something about sound. The big thing is the light in your room. A lot of people don't think about this, but a lot of blinds don't necessarily block out all the light. And with modern conveniences, the way it is today, most likely, most people have a lot of light coming through the window that isn't even from the sun. It's just like, where's this light? I mean, you ever go into like a city these days? There is no dark sky. It's not like when we were kids. I remember going out in the field and laying down and seeing all the stars. Well, a lot of times you can't even do that now because there's so much background light with all the street lights and the stores and all that stuff. You don't even see the stars much. So you have to remember this light's coming through your windows. So you might need to do something like a sleep mask or block out blinds, something to make the room really dark so you can actually get good quality sleep, because that light is going to affect you whether or not you realize it is. Anything else you want to add on that one?
No, we do have some good resources, I think, of the past in which we have shared with you, whether it's through our blogs or through your information, Dr. Monzo, regarding and honing in on sleep to help support you.
Yes. Physical exercise is important, but not too much. The idea is just to move, to keep things moving, not to work out. So most people just need very subtle movements really to get the lymph system going. So rebounding, even walking, exercise is a tricky one because it has so many variables. It depends on your body size and your age and your limitations. You know, there's some people, there's just a lot of exercises they can't do because it's not good for you. So you might have to do more swimming. It really depends on the person as to what physical exercises you can handle. But the idea is not to overdo it, especially when you're building up your nutritional reserves. You don't want to just be sweating it all out. That's another thing you don't think about. We sweat out a lot of stuff. So a lot of your minerals, your electrolytes are going to get sweated out. Now you have to put those back in, or you're going to be dehydrated, and of course you're just going to burn right through your minerals. Limit the bad foods. So your fake foods, basically, right? Sugars, fried foods, too many bad carbs, bad oils. Anything, normally if it comes out of a box or a can, you really have to wonder if it's actually food. So these things are not going to give you any of your nutritional value. I mean, even really good, healthy foods, organically grown fruits and vegetables, you know, grass-fed, grass-finished, healthy meats, even those, we have a lack of nutritional nutrients because the ground now is so deficient. But if you're getting things right from the junk food store or out of a box, out of a can, you can almost guarantee that there's almost no nutritional value there. So you're putting stuff in, but you're not getting anything out of it. Improving detox or elimination. Okay, so we're going to talk a lot about that today because that's kind of the topic. We're going to talk about how detox really works. Heal up that gut, improve your blood sugar. Most people these days have some blood sugar issues. It's probably because of our really bad diets and the toxicity in our environment. Deal with the mental emotional trauma. That's a big one. Sometimes we're just holding on to things because we don't let go mentally, emotionally. And that can manifest itself physically. So the body works oftentimes very symbolically. The way we're processing things mentally, emotionally, sometimes show up in a physical manner in the body. And it's like a physical manifestation of how we're thinking and feeling. Adaptogens to boost physical energy, glands, organs, and balance hormones. So adaptogens are very powerful. We need to keep those adrenals and the thyroid and all those power organs going. So sometimes the adaptogens are the way to go. So we're not just giving the body a hormone. Instead, we're giving the body these great herbals and nutritional support so the body can make its own adaptations according to its own innate wisdom. All right. Still on lifestyle. This one is you don't have to suffer, clean up the body. So the first thing we have to understand when we want to detox, or we just want to make sure our elimination systems are working, right? I mean, that's the first process. You don't have to go out and do a detox. What you want to do is make sure your elimination systems are working. Well, what's that? Often referred to as the drainage pathways. So there's at least 6 major elimination or drainage pathways in the body. The first and foremost, the largest, is the liver. It's technically not an elimination organ in that it doesn't actually dump the toxins directly out of the body. What it is it's the largest filter of the organ. So it's filtering all and processing all the stuff that's in the body, preparing what needs to be detoxed to be eliminated through one of the elimination channels, like the kidneys, the sweat, or feces. So it's vital for detox. This is also where we get a lot of the phase 2 liver detox and methylation is with the liver. And now you have to remember the liver is doing way more than just filtering. It has over like 700 or 500 some functions in the body. So the liver is a very busy organ. And why we're seeing more and more problems these days is the more synthetic nonsense we have to deal with in our environment, the more toxicity, the more the liver is overworked now, because the liver has its normal functions, but it also has the filtering function. And the liver has to do way more filtering now than it did, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, because of our environment and what we've done with toxicity. So the liver starts getting really congested. Now, when these things start getting congested and start backing up, the other additional 5 try to take up for the slack. So now the colon is going to have to do more work. That's the body's sewer, right? That's the main place where waste gets removed out of the body. So the colon is the very last part of the large intestine. Sometimes it's called the sigmoid colon. And that's where the feces is building up until it's eliminated. And it's very important that's happening on a regular basis, because if you're not going regularly, probably once per meal. So if you have a good sized meal, you should be going once. If you have 3 good sized meals a day, you should probably be going 3 times a day. This is a self-check process. How often are you going? You have to be going at least once a day. But people would be surprised at how many people come into my office and they do not go once a day. Sometimes it's once every couple of days. Very badly, sometimes you see people that's like once a week. It's like, oh my goodness, how are you alive? So if that stuff is not moving, it's building up in the digestive tract, because it's going to start backing up. And then it's going to start getting whatever that waste material is, because this is all waste at this point, is going to start getting back through, absorbed right back through the colon lining into the bloodstream. And so now those toxins, instead of being flushed out of the body, are going to start seeping back into circulation. And now your whole system has to do the process of filtering it and getting it out again. So just doing that one thing, making sure you're having bowel movements every day, if not more than once a day, is a huge key to health. In fact, there are some pretty crazy numbers on how much weight people could be carrying just in their gut from waste that has not been removed. I've heard it is up as high as almost 50 pounds, if not more, of just waste in your body. So an easy way to lose weight right there, flush that stuff out. And we have, Azure has a lot of products that will help get the colon moving and getting that stuff flushed out. It's a simple way for you to check your own health, because you know how many times you're going a day. So that's a barometer. Now you know, okay, yeah, I'm not really going to the bathroom as much as I need to. Well, that means toxins are building up. Kidneys. Your kidneys filter our blood of waste at an astonishing rate of 150 to 180 liters every 24 hours. So yes, the kidneys, again, are another filter. And it's filtering and reabsorbing what we need and then eliminating what we don't. So the kidneys are another direct elimination system, because you just pee that right out. It goes to the bladder and then eliminated. First, it has to go through the kidneys before it gets to your bladder. The bladder is just the holding tank. And then eventually, when the bladder gets full enough, you eliminate it out. But by that point, it should have already been filtered by the kidneys. You have the lymph. The lymph is this whole web of circulation of the body. It's different than your cardiovascular circulation, but it is a circuitorial system. You have the lymph vessels, you have these lymph nodes. They're all throughout the body, and they are gathering toxins from all over the body. and then basically putting that into circulation so it can be dealt with and eliminated through the liver and the kidneys. Now, there's one problem with the lymph system, and that is it does not have a pump. Okay, so the lymph moves based on movement, actual physical movement, with the muscles relaxing and contracting. That helps pump the lymph. So when we are not moving enough, the lymph doesn't move and things become stagnant. Some of the main areas of the lymph are breast tissue, especially in women, way more in women than men, but you have a lot in the breast and under the arms, in the neck area, in your groin area. It's all over the place, but those are some of the major areas of lymph nodes to be pulling in all those toxins from those areas and eliminating them. If those toxins are not being eliminated from those areas, then you have toxic buildup in those tissues. The lungs. A lot of times we don't think about this, right? The lungs being one of the elimination systems. Yeah. You're breathing out gas and you're breathing in. Okay. So the body is going to eliminate carbon dioxide and then you breathe in oxygen. So we have this symbiotic relationship with plants. The plants need the carbon dioxide and they create the oxygen. We need the oxygen. We produce the carbon dioxide. That's the waste product. And there's other stuff coming out through that sometimes. So the lungs really are a detoxer, and they're filtering about a lot of stuff through that gas exchange. And then the largest one on the body that no one thinks about is your skin. The skin is the largest organ in the body. It is considered an organ, and toxins come out of the skin when we sweat. Look at that. The average toxic loss each day is 2 pounds. If you're not sweating, though, it's not coming out. And over the years, we have seen over and over again where a lot of times the skin is kind of the last line of defense. And when these other systems, elimination systems, are getting clogged up and not eliminating, the skin tries to do it all. And that's often where you will see people breaking out. They will have some type of skin condition. Give it whatever name you want. But one of the skin diseases, usually they will be diagnosed with that issue. And the real issue is the gut's not healthy and the elimination system's not working. So the skin is trying to do it all, and the skin is not the most effective detoxer, right? You really need all these systems working together for the toxins to be getting out of the body. And that's when typically what we need for that is something called drainage formulas. So the whole idea of drainage formulas are usually herbal formulas. Sometimes they're frequency or homeopathic, but they're usually herbal formulas that help open up the elimination channels to make sure those channels are filtering and eliminating. So here's the next step on how to detox correctly. Number one, because you don't want to just go out there and say, I'm going to do a detox. Okay. Now, most people, let's be honest, most people out there are not really doing detoxes. Most people are probably doing cleanses. A colon cleanse, there's a kidney cleanse, there's a liver cleanse. Those are fine, but they're not really detoxing. That is not getting the toxins deep in the tissues and cells and pulling them out. That's just flushing an organ, which is good if you need to flush the colon if you're not going, but you don't think of that as actual doing a detox. That's just prep work, really. So those are great. Doing cleanses are great for prep work, unless you have a very serious issue. You don't want to make the issue wrong or worse. And this is how people make it worse. They don't follow these 5 basic steps. Number one, you need the proper nutrients for your body. They have the energy to rebuild and cleanse. So if you have tons of nutritional deficiencies and you don't have the nutritional reserves and you try doing detoxing, you're going to tax the body very badly, because as you're detoxing, the body is going to want to break down and rebuild the cells, basic metabolic functions. And if it doesn't have the energy and the building blocks, that's not going to happen. So now you're just putting your body under more stress instead of relieving stress. Number two, you need a chelation agent. Another big mistake people make is they pick chelation products that are not necessarily whole food or natural. There's a lot of synthetic chelation agents out there. They work very powerful for pulling out toxins, but they also pull out everything. So they will pull out all your minerals and your nutrients. And that's, basically violating the first principle. So now you're going to be in trouble because it's just pulling out everything. And it's not so easy to just say, well, I'm going to do this chelation and I'm going to take some supplements along with it. Most likely you're already have some level of nutritional deficiency. And if you're stripping all of that, it could take a year before you get all that put back in. Okay. So when we use chelation agents, we want to use natural, safe herbals and substances that are food-based that can actually help pull the toxins out. A lot of times just giving the livers the support so the body can do the natural detox process. Okay, which is a lot better than forcing the detox process through synthetic chelation. Now, another one you have, number 3 here, you want to make sure you have drainage support. So you want to make sure we're opening up the elimination organs so that the stuff actually gets flushed out and not recycled. So this comes down to checking yourself and seeing, are you having normal bowel movements? Are you moving enough? Are you sweating enough? If you can't check those boxes, you most likely need drainage support when you do a detox. And it's a lot of simple stuff, just like even milk thistle. That's a great thing for the liver. That would be a simple liver drainage support to help get stuff moving out of the liver. And there's tons of herbal formulas like that. Sometimes there's herbal formulas that have a number of different herbals to help open up numerous drainage paths at the same time. Binders are a little bit different. Not to be confused with a chelator, not to be confused with a drainage support. Binders are technically substances that bind to the toxins in the gut. They don't bind to the substances and pull them out of the cells or the tissues. That's a chelator. The binders bind to the substances in the gut to prevent the body from reabsorbing those toxins and then flushing them out. Okay, so that's the purpose of the binder, is you're detoxing, you're pulling all this stuff out, it's pushing it all into the colon. And now if we put the binders in there, it's able to bind up all those toxins so your body doesn't reabsorb them and they can get eliminated out of the body. So things like activated charcoal would be like a binder. IP6 actually works as a good binder. There's a bunch of other things. Bentonite plays a good binder. There's a number of different binders out there to really bind up that stuff in the gut to make sure it's not being reabsorbed and then you're eliminating. The only tricky thing with binders is for some people, binders help you go to the bathroom more. And for some people, binders make you a little bit more constipated. So you do have to be careful with that. And that's why you do all of this together. The last thing we need to look at when we want to do a detox is whether or not you need methylation support. Now, methylation could be a number of things. That could be an actual problem where you have methylation genes. This is epigenetics now. So you have methylation genes that have been turned off and they're not functioning. So the methylation pathways do not work, which are related to phase 1 and 2 of detox, although methylation affects most areas of the body: liver, cardio, kidneys, gut, neurological, mitochondria. We mainly think of it as phase 2 liver detox. We're hoping that HR can get back on. He's having some internet problems here, but I'm going to keep going. So methylation is very important. Now, how are you going to know whether or not you have a methylation problem? Sometimes it's not a gene problem. It's just you need the extra support for the detox process. A good way of testing, and now this it doesn't work for everyone because it depends on what your lifestyle is like, but think of a time in your life when you tried alcohol or pharmaceutical drugs. If you're the type of person who reacts very quickly, In other words, you only need a sip or two and you're like, oh, you're already being affected. It doesn't take much. Same thing with a pharmaceutical drug. You take a drug and you react super fast to it. That most likely is a methylation issue, because these things like drugs and alcohol things, these types of substances have to be processed through the liver through methylation. And if your methylation is not working, you're going to react real fast. So that's a kind of a way. There's a lot of other ways. Now, most likely, I think medically speaking, they say 50 to 55% of the population has a methylation issue these days. I find it's more like 70% of the people, but I might be biased because I'm usually working with people who are sick. So, how many times does someone who's healthy walk into my doors? Not a whole lot. Most people who are healthy don't come to see me. It's usually people who are sick. So I don't know if I have the absolute numbers, but I think it's higher. I think it's more like 70% of the population probably has a methylation problem, and it could be affecting any of these systems down here that I have listed. So that's how we do that. Now, with AzureWell, there's a lot of ways you can do this. A great methylation support is actually the whole food multi. There's other products they have that give you the methylated B vitamins. That's a good way of supporting the methylation pathways. Drainage support. They have something with the liver. No, it's the bio gallbladder action support. That's a phenomenal one. It helps the liver and the gallbladder. It also helps a little bit with the lymph. We have a lot of binders, like the Azure has binders like the bentonite clay. That's a good one. The IP6. Chelation agents. A really good one is the 3 Greens liquid chlorella. And obviously for nutrition, you want the 90 essential nutrients. So it would be very easy to start putting together a detox system. And we're going to cover that more when we get to supplements. I don't think HR has ever been able to get back in yet. I'm hoping he's able to sign back in, and we'll bring him back here. I think he's back. All right, I was just finishing off the detox part, and it looks like what's next is getting into more of the nutrition. So,
thanks. I am back, Dr. Monzo. A little hiccup there, but we're still rocking and rolling. So, lifestyle sets kind of the stage for the metabolic environment.
Yes.
But it's like nutrition gives the raw materials.
Yes.
Right. So even with great sleep, even exercise, movement, the body can't perform without the right inputs. So once lifestyle has set the stage, nutrition kind of becomes the next big part of the puzzle. I think targeted nutrition. How does targeted nutrition actually give the metabolism, the signals and the building blocks it needs to produce energy, regulate blood sugar and inflammation?
Yes. All right, so we're going to go to nutrition now. Here we go. So various functions of the body require different nutrients. So when we start looking at a lot of the cellular activity of metabolism, breaking down and building up, that's a lot of your minerals. You have a lot of minerals that's required to make ATP energy. So ATP energy, which we probably should call it magnesium ATP, is the energy that powers the body. So that's the first metabolic process we really need for all the cells to be functioning. They need energy. And so we have minerals like copper, you need iron, you need magnesium, you need retinol, things like that to help that whole entire process. There's a lot of other things. There's antioxidants and stuff. But we need some really, even zinc, a little bit of zinc is needed in this process. It's a very important process. They call it the electron transport chain. And there's all kinds of minerals needed. You can almost think of minerals as the spark plugs of the body. So we need these minerals to really help a lot of the electrical components of the body, including making energy. Your amino acids are your building blocks. Amino acids help to make your proteins. Protein is going to be used to make a lot of the tissues in your body. So a lot of your tissues are going to need proteins to build themselves. When it comes to fat, there's healthy fat in the body. So then you have your fatty acids and your fat-soluble vitamins. Those things are really important. The brain, cholesterol. Yeah, cholesterol is not necessarily a bad thing. You need cholesterol to make your hormones. The brain is a lot of cholesterol. You have these healthy fats in the body. And so it needs healthy fatty acids, your omega-3, 6, 9. And then you have fat-soluble vitamins that your body also needs to carry out these processes. So here's the basic list of nutrients: proteins and healthy fats, your antioxidants from greens and berries. There's an ORC level. You really need a lot of the antioxidants to deal with all the oxidative stress in the body. And you're going to mostly get that from your greens and your berries. You have your copper and really all the other minerals. And there's like 60 minerals that your body needs out of the 90. 60 of them are minerals. Think about that. That's what is that? A third of all your needs are minerals. 60 out of the 90. So a lot of minerals needed for the body to function, not just copper. The fatty acids, there's 3 of them. You need those. Sun, we need to be in the sun to activate the A, help make the D, because we know D is a hormone. Probiotics and the healthy foods for the gut. So that's kind of some of the basic nutrition the body is going to need. And then I think next is getting right into supplements then. All right, so let's go right into it. What does AzureWell have? Basic nutrients for weight loss and metabolism. Right there basically is your 90 essential. Now, the great thing right now is you really only need 4 of those bottles because the latest batch of whole food multi is out and it has 4 milligrams of copper. So if you have the latest batch of whole food multi, and of course, I think we've explained this before, but if people are wondering, well, why is it different now than the last batch? Because it's actually made out of food. And when you're making things out of food, you can't always guarantee you're going to have the exact same levels every time. That's why a lot of companies standardize and they just add synthetics to their product so they have a standardized label all the time and they don't ever have to change anything. But the whole food right now has 4 milligrams of copper. So guess what? You really don't need to take the copper separate. The last batch was really low, so you needed it separate. So the whole food multi, that gives you most of all your vitamins. There's a few more in the IP6. The cod liver oil, that gives you all your fatty acids and your retinol and a little bit of actual real D from animal source, of course. Your fulvic humeric mineral blend, that's going to give you all of your minerals. The 60 essential, and then it also has a lot of the non-essential minerals that you also need. It has like 70, I think it's like 74 different minerals, if not more, in there, plus all kinds of other really great stuff, because that is basically broken down plants. So that's decomposed plants, so it's very powerful for the gut as well. But that's where you're getting the majority of your minerals. And then the IP6 Supreme brings in some of the other minerals that you need in a higher content, like the magnesium and the calcium, phosphorus, and of course, it helps with binding the unbound iron, but it's really there because you really need a high amount of calcium, magnesium in a proper ratio from food, and that is a really good source. If we had to put that much into a capsule, you would have to be swallowing 8 capsules on top of the whole food, which whole food is another 4. So, I mean, you would have to swallow tons of capsules to try to get that much of some of those substances. It's just, that's the problem. When you're making things from food, it takes a lot of, it can be a lot of bulk. So that's why sometimes you just have to give people a powdered form and not a capsule form. So those basic 4 are how you get your 90 essential nutrients. If you needed extra copper, we do have it available. But right now, the whole food is good, and you will get plenty of copper from that. Now we're getting into a little bit more of the specifics. How about hormone and blood sugar support? Really important. We're dealing with that stress. So we have the first product here, adrenaline adaptogen, as it sounds. This is an adaptogen formula. So adaptogens help the body to adapt. In other words, if the body needs something raised, it will help raise it. If it needs lowered, it helps lower it. It does not force the body in one direction like a synthetic substance. So we're not forcing the body here. We're giving the body the building blocks and the nutrients and herbals that it needs so the body can make the proper adjustments. So for hormone balance and stress response, metabolism, energy level. So this is a great formula for your adrenals and your thyroid, things like that. Adrenal food is a little bit different. It actually doesn't have adaptogens in there. What it is basic nutrients and food for the adrenal glands, right? So it has your potassium and your whole food C and salt. And so these are sometimes referred to as electrolytes, or the salt part is your sodium. But the other nutrients are really needed as the basic foods for the adrenal glands. So this is great food for the adrenals to help give the adrenals extra support.
I think that it's so important to understand the differences between the two here. The adrenals require these building blocks. Mm-hmm. And if you just try to go in and force the adrenals to hit a certain status, or to balance without these building blocks in place, you're just going to ultimately, it's not sustainable, and you're going to set yourself up for failure. You come in with an adrenaline adaptogen, you got some key powerhouses, the Russian rhodiola and the cordyceps, that can work with the various dosha types, and they're extremely powerful in helping find that balance, right, within the HPA axis. But if you don't have these building blocks in place, once you get them to normal status, you come off the product, you're back to square one. Yep. As Dr. Monzo mentioned, you need adrenal food first. You need these building blocks first. You need vitamin C. You need P5P. You need salt. These are all water, sleep. These are all critical to adrenal function. It's the building block. Now you have this in place. You bring in adrenaline adaptogen. You get where you need to be, and now you're going to sustain the results over time. And this is so critical to some of the key elements that Dr. Monzo has been speaking about when we talk about these syncrasies, these metabolic syncrasies that have to occur. This is directly affecting cortisol levels. Yes. And so it's directly affecting the thyroid. This is all so important. But please remember, in this case, got to have the food first, the adrenal food first. And then if we're in some of those more stubborn cases, let's just say adrenal cases, where adrenals have been hit for a long period of time, we may need some adrenaline adaptogen to come kick it back into gear.
Yeah, and you also have to remember that when your adrenals start crashing, you're going to have bad sleep.
Yeah,
it's going to affect the sleep. So a lot of
people
you're going to figure out, how can I get my sleep better? Well, it might be as simple as getting your body on some adrenal food for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, so many important nuances here that the adrenals are supporting. When we think of the adrenals, first and foremost, it's to regulate fluid balance in the body. Mm-hmm. And where does that occur at? What is its main reservoir to help make that happen? The colon. So when the adrenals are wiped out, who here suffers from adrenal burnout? Raise your hand. I mean, it's all of us. You see it right away in the colon, get that constipation, right? Magnesium becomes wiped out. The colon is tense and spasmodic. Yeah, that's where you start to see it. Then number two, adrenals regulate inflammation, helps support inflammation throughout the body. So when you see that adrenals are compromised, you can use all the quote unquote anti-support, anti-inflammatory products, or the products that help support healthy inflammation is the way I should say it. And again, if the adrenals are wiped out, you're not going to see that sustainable. So right away, you see the colon suffers. You see these runaway inflammatory responses. And then, oh, by the way, its last job, number three, energy. That suffers last. So you got to get this in place. This is such a key player in mastering your metabolism.
Yes, absolutely. So the next thing on here is more support for hormones. Now we have the woman's feminine balance. We have products for men. We have products for women. So this gets more into helping when it's actually hormonal. All right. Obviously, a big key ingredient in this one for the women is chase tree. Very powerful. Again, it's not really, it's herbal based. So this is not something where we're going to force the body by giving you hormones. This is supporting your body. So hormone support, metabolism, energy levels, weight support, right here for the women. This is a great one. The blood sugar support, as it sounds, that's a great one for the pancreas and controlling blood sugar. I'm trying to think what's in there. I think there's definitely some cinnamon in there.
Yep.
And there's, isn't there garlic or something pear? I know it's a powerhouse product because I've looked at it many times.
I have the cinnamon in my head as well.
Yes, it has a cinnamon. The prickly pear is in there. And the organic cranberry is in there. Blueberry. Yeah. Green tea. Reishi. Yeah. Very powerful.
And I think that when you talk about a lot of these ingredients, that you're the primary ingredients as well as the secondary ingredients, the strategy that we take in formulation, it's important to understand, come from the principles of naturopathic medicine, in eclectic formulation, where we're not just looking to utilize nutrition or nutrients in an allopathic manner and force the body into getting the results it's not ready for, but to gently remind or nudge the body of what it's supposed to do. So oftentimes you'll see that we're using full spectrum ingredients. Full spectrum are the best buffer to prevent imbalances within the body. So when you see these primary ingredients, yes, you're going to see cinnamon in there. The secondary ingredients are going to be more so full spectrum, and these are going to be the synergists, cofactors and essential transporters to those primary ingredients, and maintaining balance, not specific to just one system, but all systems in the body.
Yes. That's what makes it an absolute powerhouse. So if you're having any problems with blood sugar, insulin, glucose, that's a great formula to take the stress off of the pancreas and that whole system. All right. So the next thing is we're going to go to gut inflammation support, right? Because we talked about that today, and it's also important for detox. You have the CoQ10 Plus and the activated B complex. So there's another one, folks. I was telling you that we have a couple products that would, Azure has a couple products here that would help your methylation. So if you think you have a methylation problem, one of the products is the activated B complex, because you're going to have the methylated Bs in there. The whole food multi is another great one that I already mentioned. It has a lot of great methylation support in it. Fermented CoQ10. That's going to be a little bit more for energy levels, stress, metabolism. It can be very powerful for the cardiovascular system. And this is a fermented version, so it's a little bit different than what you typically see out there. The turmeric ginger powder. This is one of my favorite products, actually. I use this product a lot. It's such a powerhouse. It's fermented turmeric ginger powder. So that makes the turmeric a lot more bioavailable once it's fermented. And with the combination of the ginger, now you have this very powerful anti-inflammatory and calming support. So it's really good for the gut, but it's really powerful for the liver. It's powerful for the cardiovascular system. So this is just another key nutrient, I think, for really helping the gut. Because one of the big issues with the gut problems is there's tons of inflammation in the gut. So this is a great way to come in and calm down the digestive system and calm down the inflammation as you're doing other things to help start rebuilding the gut lining and, microbiome. Then you have the Recover Immune Vitality Complex. This is a powerful product also for the gut. It has the bovine colostrum in it. It has a lot of immune support, basically because it's focused on the gut as the center of immunity. So it's working on rebuilding that gut microbiome. And this is a great product. This is another product I really like.
Yeah, the nucleotides is probably it's not a household name, right? Let's just first understand that. When you hear about this product, the first thing you think about is recovery and an immune system. And nucleotides is what's secreted by mom at birth along with colostrum. It's held in the reservoir of the liver in the intestines and released at the onset of any type of trauma to the body, whether it be a broken bone or cold, flu, as the body's recovery mechanism. Just think of it that way. And it takes 6 billion nucleotides to build one cell. And so this has active nucleotide activity. And really just it comes from a trademark ingredient called Immunel. And this Immunel, just when you see a trademark ingredient in a product, that means it has a lot of science behind it. And you're really we're paying for that science. We're identifying with various studies that are out there to how it supports the body and why. So why does it land here? And this one, to conclude, also it has beta glucans in it as well, which we all know that how that supports the body's resilience to stress. But back to these nucleotides, what they've actually shown is it actually grows the villi of the intestinal lining. So that villi, those little finger-like projections that come all along the intestinal wall, so critical to the microbiome of the intestinal tract, so critical to the lymphatic system of the intestinal tract. Also, it creates a very healthy gut barrier. The healthier this intestinal lining is, the longer the villi is, the healthier the gut's going to be. So this is just a wonderful player in recovering the intestinal tract, supporting the immune system. But really, I'm going to talk about this really when you're promoting the intestinal lining in such a way, you are really promoting that GLP-1 activity that's gotten a lot of science, and everybody's getting these GLP-1 injections and whatnot, and the mimickers is what they are to actual GLP activity that's going on in the intestinal lining, and it comes from the L cells of this villi. And the healthier it is, the more active it's going to be. And that's why when we were younger and we were vibrant, we had this key element that was so important to the metabolic processes coming from our intestinal tract, and in helping create that adaptogenic effect to help us feel full when we were supposed to feel full, to help us release when we were supposed to release. And so when the intestinal tract, one of the cleansing systems of the body, when it's compromised, full of stagnant material, you're going to see compromised GLP-1 activity. And so this is just a wonderful agent, along with supporting the gut, getting those digestive enzymes in there, supporting the recovery process, and helping lengthen the villi of the cells to help support this specific element. I'm not saying that this is your next GLP-1 that you should be thrown in the body by any means, but it's more about thinking how we can support the body to help stabilize that healthy activity.
Absolutely. It is a powerhouse product. And that's only like half the ingredients.
Yeah, true.
The next round is, what do we do for detox? I kind of said this briefly when we were on the detox slide, but now you can actually see it in front of you. Like I was saying, the first two there, the 3 greens liquid chlorella and the pure chlorella, those are great chelators. So this is a natural form of a chelator. And then next to that, you see NC antioxidant, the beetroot powder, the lung support, the bile gallbladder action support. So these are all supporting agents. So we would call them more like drainage support. The beetroot and the bile gallbladder, those are great drainage supports for the liver. You got the support with the NAC and the lung support for the lungs. And there's a whole lot of other products that we just can't get to today that Azure has that's going to help. We have a lot of good binders. They have the clay and they have the IP6. So these are some ideas that we have for the detox support side of things. We have a whole line of products just for liver. We have some herbals that focus more a little bit on the lymph system. So there's a lot you can do with all the Azure products, but this is some basic ideas right there for how to start some of the detox process and get support. But the only thing I would warn you about is if you really want to do a real detox, you should really make sure you have someone you're working with that can help. It's not the funnest thing to do on your own if you don't know what you're doing, because you could just make problems a lot worse for you. So a nice cleanse is going to be fine. But if you really want to go deep into really detoxing, you should definitely try to get some support to know how to do that.
That's wonderful, Dr. Monzo. And that those resources are made available to you by AzureWell, a directory of practitioners that are working with AzureWell. If you go to azurelivingwell.com and you go into our practitioner support area, you'll see a directory of practitioners you can work with, like Dr. Monzo, and their contact information to really, yes, I like to say, it's hard for me to suggest that any of these products will hurt you. I just think that you can be very much more targeted with your success,
yes,
thus being more efficient. And so Dr. Monzo's right. These products here, they're you can be very strategic with them in how you support the liver by supporting the gallbladder in this case, and different ways in which we can identify energetically, functionally, with what your needs are, right? And what can switch on the body to best be responsive. Dr. Monzo, as we wrap this up, I really appreciate this conversation and how it reframes metabolism, not as something that's broken, but more as something that can be responsive, right? We talked about understanding the root causes and creating, supportive lifestyle rhythms and layering them with nutrition and supplements and giving it that extra support where it's needed. For someone that it can become a lot. And we're going on an hour and 20 minutes of just a whole heck of a lot of information here. Mm-hmm. For someone who's listening that may be feeling frustrated or stuck, what's the one mindset shift or first step that you would encourage them to take so that they can begin working with the body instead of against it? What's that first step forward that they can start today?
I think it would really be just understanding the basic foundational principles, which really comes down to the 90 essential.
Yeah.
It could be that simple. Do it for 90 days, at least 3 months, if not longer. Do the 90 essential, and then just see, what I would do is make a list before of all your symptoms and problems, and then do at least 90 days or maybe even 6 months worth of the 90 essential nutrients, and then do an inventory again and see how many things go away just because you put the proper nutrition back into the body.
Those 90 essentials, it's, a lot of them are going to come, as from Dr. Monzo said, first and foremost, you're going to, the closest thing to a silver bullet is that whole food multivitamin, and really tackling a lot of your needs without any synthetic injections from a whole food based standpoint. And sometimes when we work with whole foods, there's not the same amount of vitamin C in every orange. So you're going to see our whole food multi kind of go up and go down as far as its percentages are concerned in what it offers to the body, like that of copper. So you may need a little bit of additional copper to support the body. But cod liver oil, I think of even collagen. Collagen wasn't on there. Collagen is a wonderful player as an amino acid complex to support healthy bones, to help support healthy, the whole muscle skeletal system, as well as phase 2 of liver detoxification. Man, it's just a beautiful player. But Dr. Monzo, thank you for walking us through this metabolic mastery in bringing clarity to a topic I think that's oversimplified, and this has been incredibly helpful, and I hope I think it'd be a wonderful resource along with yourself to those that are really just struggling through some of these stubborn weight management predicaments that they're in. So again, Dr. Monzo, thank you for listening, and stay well. Bye for now.